to hear everyone who's spoken since the morning, and I'm really looking forward to listening to the other speakers today as well. I think what has been established beyond doubt is that there are very, very grave challenges that our democracy faces today. One of the primary reasons for the democratic backslide that we are observing is
the collapse of our institutions. The institutions of accountability, of oversight, that were supposed to protect our constitutional rights as citizens, that were supposed to uphold our democracy, we are seeing how they have been systematically compromised. They were supposed to stand as a bulwark against state excesses, against excesses of the executive, and we are watching them with impunity, the word that Usha used, stand with the executive, with those in power, and strike at the very heart of our democracy. Because what they are really essentially doing is going after political opposition and anyone who dares to dissent.
I'm going to come to the topic of the conclave, which is electoral democracy, and therefore I'm going to also focus largely on the Election Commission of India, the body that was set up by the Constitution to ensure that in India we can have free and fair elections. We saw that by and large, since independence, by and large, the Election Commission performed its function in a transparent,
meaningful manner. But the last 8 or 9 years, the actions and the inactions of the Election Commission have been extremely worrying to all of us as citizens of the country. We saw how this selective action, the Election Commission is supposed to be a referee. We see them as referees in a match when an election is happening. We've seen how systematically there is selective action. When there are complaints that are filed by anybody against the opposition, they act with absolute alacrity. But the moment there is any complaint of violation of the model code of conduct, there is a hate speech, there's an allegation of hate speeches being made, very egregious comments, communal comments being made by the leaders of the ruling party, including the Prime Minister. Then suddenly Namo TV, coming just before the 2019 elections, there is absolute deafening silence. And that's really making people understand today that there is something wrong with the referee. They are not being able to play the role that they were constitutionally mandated to play. Voter turnout, some people talked about that, so I'll go into it in some detail because we've been working on that issue. It's the most basic thing in a democracy. People came on the day of election, they voted. Why should citizens not know how many people came to vote? Voter turnout is just that. And we are seeing how the Election Commission is playing with that very basic thing. The Election Commission, for the first time in 2024, did not put out the absolute number of people who came to vote in the elections. For 11 days, after the first 2 phases of election, we did not hear anything about the voter
turnout. There was a hue and cry, and then after the first 2 phases, 11 days passed, and the Election Commission put out voter turnout in percentage forms. Even the percentage figures that were given at the time of close of polling on the day of voting, if you compared it to the final voter turnout that was given in percentage terms, there was an unprecedented increase, 7%, 8% increase. In states like Odisha, there was a 30% increase. And we are not saying it as citizens. The BJD, which was the ruling party over there at that time, has written a letter to the Election Commission saying 30% increase. What is happening? You give us a figure at the end of polling on the day of voting, and then you give us a final figure a couple of days later, and there's a 30% increase. What was happening? So naturally, people are saying, give us the document that has the voter turnout. There is only one statutory document that registers the voter turnout, and that is Form 17C, Part 1. I think thousands of citizens have been doing their duty and asking for a copy of Form 17C. The Election Commission, with great shamelessness, I'm sorry to say, and impunity, has refused to give a copy of Form 17C. What is secret about the voter turnout? What are they saying? They're saying, sorry, we cannot give it to you. You as citizens have no right to ask for Form 17C. We give it to the polling agent of the candidate who's sitting there. Are the elections meant for the polling agents? Are the elections being conducted in our country for the candidates or the political parties? Are they not being conducted for the people of this country to choose their representatives? Is the Election Commission so out of touch with reality, with the Constitution? The Election Commission till date, May 2024, the general elections happened. We are standing today in October 2025. They have not released the figures of the Form 17C, the absolute number. Before Christmas, as a Christmas gift, they delivered on 24 December a treasure trove. They called it a treasure trove of information. They said now researchers can go and they can look at what happened in the largest democracy of the country in the elections. We went with great hope that now finally, okay, they are not uploading Form 17C, but at least the figures they have given. The first disclaimer that you had to accept was that this is not Form 17C figures. Till date, we don't have the actual turnout that was registered in Form 17Cs in the country. In the election where the ruling party came back to power a third time, we don't have that basic figure. Maharashtra elections, which happened after the 24 elections. 70 lakh people were mysteriously standing in queues outside the polling stations when at 5 o'clock polling ended. So people said, fine, if you're saying that to us, we want to verify. They asked for the presiding officer's diary. Now the presiding officer's diary, we have Mr. Balakrishnan sitting here and others who know a lot about the electoral system. The presiding officer's diary has the number of coupons that are issued to people who are standing at the time of closing of poll, 5 o'clock, when they say that we are not going to accept more people coming in to vote. They issue coupons. Only those who have coupons can go in and vote. So the presiding officer's diary has a note of how many coupons were given out. People said, give us the presiding officer's diary, we'll check whether 70 lakh people were issued coupons or not. People said, give us the CCTV footage. You are putting up CCTV footage, CCTVs everywhere. Give us the footage, we will check whether those 70 lakh people were standing there or not standing there. Why is CCTV footage important? All of us remember the Chandigarh mayor elections. Mr. Anil Masi, who was the presiding officer, made sure that he tampered with the ballot papers to make the BJP win. And how did that come out? Because the CCTV footage came out. Now people want to know, can you please give us the CCTV footage in Maharashtra elections, in other elections? What is the response of the Election Commission? We cannot compromise the privacy of our Bahu Betis. Our daughters-in-law, our daughters, our mothers. Did you take consent from any of us when we went to vote? Are those CCTV cameras being put up there for personal viewing of anybody? When people are demanding accountability, that's when you remember the privacy of women and you will hide behind it. Haryana elections, people again went and asked for Form 17C for CCTV footage, presiding officers died. The Election Commission flatly refused, which none of us was surprised about, and somebody went to the Punjab and Haryana High Court. The High Court looked at the matter and said, what is this rubbish? Please give. The conduct of election rules, rule number 93, deals with transparency of election records. Rule 93(1) clearly says what records are exempt, can't be given. Rule 93(2) says every other record has to be given. So 93(1) has things like marked ballot papers. We are not asking for marked ballot papers. But other information has to be provided under 93(2). So the High Court said every piece of information that has to be given under 93(2), please provide it to people. What does the Election Commission, our constitutional body, our referee for elections, do? It doesn't give people the information. It runs to the central government and says, please amend the rules, the conduct of election rules 93(2). Many people accessed papers on how this was done, and it showed clearly how the Election Commission wrote to the central government, and within 24 hours the central government acted. So in a matter of 10 days, the conduct of election rules were changed, instead of giving us information that in any democracy we ought to have. Transparency, this is where we are on our state of transparency and accountability to the people of India. Who is the Election Commission accountable to? They have completely forgotten. Same thing is happening when allegations of vote chori are coming up. It is true that our opposition parties are not, painting themselves in glory. But even where, with evidence, the leader of opposition comes out, makes such damning statements. I mean, after the kind of statements that the leader of opposition has made publicly in press conferences, I mean, anybody would think in this country that why are we wasting money on elections? He's standing there, he's saying fake voters in a constituency, Bangalore Central, out of 6 lakh voters, 1 lakh were fake. The winning margin in that constituency was 33,000. What do elections mean? He's saying they're duplicate voters. There are many voters, bulk voters living at the same address. There are people whose fathers' names are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. In Alan constituency, he's saying that mass deletions are happening in a systematic way. Anyone who's registered on number 1 in the voter list suddenly goes and asks for deletion of names. It seems to be done in a centralized manner. Media reports are coming out saying 80 rupees per deletion of name. I mean, what are we talking about? What electoral democracy are we talking about? And our other institutions are sitting and watching quietly. Usha has talked about it. So we have a situation today where the Election Commission, as any normal citizen would expect, should have called an emergency meeting. After the first press conference, we should have seen the Election Commission in a tizzy calling a meeting, saying all the political parties should come, they should sit with us, tell us what happened. After all, the Election Commission is only 800 people strong. There are only 800 employees in the people in the Election Commission. Everybody else, Mr. Balakrishnan will tell us, is on deputation from the government. So the Election Commission should have said, come and give us the complaints, we will act on it, we will set up an inquiry, and done a meeting. And I am going to say this, there are Supreme Court, there are progressive high courts where there have been progressive chief justices, who are now doing live webcast of their proceedings. Why can't the Election Commission, to win the trust of the people of the country, have done a live telecast of the meeting that it held with all the political parties and said, here, I have nothing to hide. Instead, what is the Election Commission saying? The Election Commission says, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, give us an affidavit. He's standing in front of all the cameras making an allegation. They're saying that's not enough. He's showing all those 1 lakh names. I'm not saying they're all right or wrong. I don't know. But should the election commission not have taken that seriously? They're saying, no, give us an affidavit, otherwise we can't do anything about it. What is the message that we are being given? They're asking for machine-readable voter lists. There is voter fraud happening. We know that voter lists are the soft underbelly of our election system. You can decide the outcome of elections before the elections happen if you tamper properly with the voter list. That is what is being told by the leader of opposition is happening in the country. They're asking for machine-readable voter list. What is the explanation that our chief election officer gives? He's a graduate from IIT. He says we cannot give it in machine-readable format because citizens might morph it. And if they morph it and they change your photograph to somebody else's photograph, when you go to vote, you will not be able to vote. If I morph it on my personal computer. How do I morph it on the ECI's computer? What joke is being played on the people of the country is what is completely inexplicable today. SIR, I'm not going to go in detail, it's been talked about. We've seen the manner in which the Bihar SIR was done. Rupesh ji is sitting here. The rush, what is the rush? You have elections happening in 2 months' time and you're saying, no, everybody, 8 crore people, 9 crore people, everybody come to us, prove your citizenship, otherwise you will lose the right to vote. How does this work? We are seeing that people whose names are deleted from the voter list, yeah, please do purification, but do it in a proper manner. You're deleting names of people from the voter list and then you're saying we'll neither tell you the reason nor the names. We'll not tell you whose name is being deleted. Unless the Supreme Court says, please give the names at least of deleted people. You're saying so many people died, at least put out their names so that people can verify. Any journalist who shows the truth on the ground there is an FIR against them. How is this happening? This whole capture, one of the primary ways in which this is being done, not just in the election commission, but also in other bodies, is through the selection process. That's where the rot starts. The selection, as per the constitution, was supposed to be done around a law that was made by Parliament. So a law was supposed to be made to decide how election commissioners will be selected. The law was not made for the longest time. The executive, the ruling party, was making the selections. When the matter was agitated in the Supreme Court, in the Arun Baranwal matter, the Supreme Court gave a landmark judgment. The Supreme Court said no, the referee cannot be decided by one of the teams. So the selection committee should not have a preponderance of the ruling party representatives. It should be a balanced committee and a law should be brought in. Till a law is brought in, we are saying that the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and the Chief Justice of India will do the selection. What does the central government do? It immediately, before the next selection had to be made, went and got a law, pushed a law through Parliament, in which the Chief Justice was replaced by one of the Union Cabinet Minister. So it's the Prime Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, who's been selected so far as the Union Cabinet Minister to be on the committee, and the Leader of Opposition. 2:1. Blatant violation of what the Supreme Court is saying. The matter was again taken to court that this is contempt. How can you do this? The matter is languishing. It is one of the matters that Usha was referring to. The Supreme Court is choosing to take its own time, doesn't have the time. It's such a trivial matter. Why take it up on any urgent basis? And this is not the only way in which our electoral democracy is being compromised. Money power. We've seen how big a role money plays in our elections today. Electoral bonds were brought in. Electoral bonds were brought in to open the floodgates of unlimited political funding political parties in an anonymous manner. Nobody would get to know who's funding which political party. Nobody funds a political party out of charity. They do it because they want something in return from the political party in power. And this sort of a scheme was brought in. Everybody kept shouting, from the RBI governor to the election commission to citizens, saying this will increase black money, money laundering, this will corrupt elections completely. The government went ahead and did it. The government went ahead and did it, but the Supreme Court sat on it for 7 years. The Supreme Court did not stop this complete violation of people's right to know in a democracy for 7 long years, and allowed the coffers of political parties, especially the ruling party, which got a majority of the electoral bonds. They were filled, and they were fighting elections one after the other, 2 general elections and all state elections in the country. Now that has been shut down. What about PM Cares? PM Cares was set up during COVID to help with disaster relief. Now when we are asking for who has given money, where is the money going, the government is saying, look, the trust is a private trust. The PM Cares Fund Trust, the chairperson is the Prime Minister, and ministers of our country, union ministers, are on the board. But it's a private trust. They've collected more than 13,000 crore rupees. So this is the government is saying this is the private trust of the ruling party. Now that's exactly where quid pro quo must be happening. How do we not know that? How do we know as citizens that that's not what is happening? Electoral bonds stop, but now give money to the ruling party through PM Cares and get your favors done. Paisa lo, contract do. Paisa lo, policy banao. This is what is happening, and I'm going to stop in 2 minutes, Kamal Franco. Other institutions are equally complicit. The Supreme Court, Usha has talked about the judiciary, we are seeing how it is behaving. But the ED, the CBI, the Lokpal, they are all acting as extended arms of the ruling party in compromising the electoral outcomes. There are reports which are clearly showing that since 2014, the ED has taken up cases against political figures, political leaders. 95% of the cases are against opposition leaders. As if our ruling party, which has all the powers to do everything, there's no corruption happening in it. Electoral bonds is not happening. CAG is telling us nothing is happening. Everything is the opposition party. 2 chief ministers in the country were put behind bars before elections. They were left afterwards, but during elections and before they were put behind bars. They are acting on behalf of the ruling party. The Lokpal, which is now in the news for buying 7 luxury BMW cars. I mean, if you look at what they have been doing, they have not produced an annual report since 21-22. They have a total of 7 sanctioned cases of prosecution since the time that they were set up. And who have they gone after? Mahua Moitra. After Hemant Soren. This is what is happening in the other institutions. They are acting as a washing machine. Indian Express reported that out of 25 opposition leaders who joined the ruling party, 23 got relief, including Mr. Ajit Pawar, who had an irrigation scam of 70,000 crores, which the Prime Minister used to go on talking about. And now that he has joined the ruling party, the case has been dropped. This is what is happening. What is the hope for our democracy is a very big question. And I completely agree with all who have spoken before me. It's democracy, if we want really a government of, by and for the people only have to make an effort. There is no shortcut. We cannot depend on any opposition party. We cannot depend on any institution today to fight that battle for us. We have to do it at every stage, we have to be able to raise our voice in every platform, whether it is the courts or it is the streets. It is really up to us, and I am not at all pessimistic. I think we have seen bad days in the past. These are also very bad days for democracy. We have emerged victorious as people, as citizens before, and we will do so again. Thank you.